Welcome back to the Mountain Morning Show, and with me from Habitat for Humanity, I've got Lisa Schneider, and from the Reuse People of America, I've got Daniel Salmon. Welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Absolutely. You know, I'm always excited when I talk with Habitat for Humanity for so many reasons. One, for the great work that you do, obviously, of helping people have a place to call home. But in addition to that, the way that you guys do that, and the sustainability of it, and the energy efficiency of it, and in this particular case, the way that even as the rest of us are doing our little projects, a way to participate in that as well.
Right, it's really about partnerships.
Yeah.
And that's how we do our work. It's how we partner with families who purchase our homes or who work with us when they're getting their home repaired or maintained through a project like painting their home or a new roof or landscaping. We partner with contractors and developers in developing new homes. We partner with businesses in the community. Recently, our affiliates partnering with the Wasatch back trees. And they're coming in and not only providing the trees for our landscaping, but also education around proper selection of trees and and how to plant a tree, how to care for it. So it's these kinds of ways that we're able to reach more people and, you know, hopefully do a better job at providing our housing services. And then recently we've connected with the Reuse People of America around Deconstruction, because we now have a restore, so we can resell donated items. And you know, on a regular basis, we get phone calls at Habitat for Humanity, people wanting to know, what can I do? I'm gonna tear down my house, or I'm going to renovate my home.
Right.
I'm going to have all this stuff, and would you just come and take it?
Wow.
And you know, we don't always have the capacity to send a crew out to do that kind of work. And so when Daniel introduced himself from the Reuse People of America, it seemed like a match made in heaven for the kinds of calls that we get, so that we can really address that with people who need that kind of help.
Yeah, well, you know, Daniel, it's obvious that there's a big difference in just the words that we're using here when we talk about deconstruction as opposed to demolition.
Right.
And that's really where this all starts, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a different mindset. It's recognizing that there's value in the materials in the buildings that maybe we don't need anymore, or you know, the way it's been built out, maybe we want to renovate it. But all of that stuff that's still in there is useful. Maybe not for the property owner currently, but for somebody else who's trying to improve their standard of living. But there's also value in saying, you know what, we shouldn't just put it in a big hole somewhere.
Right.
You know, it's not just that it's useful. It's that it's not really useful to fill space just, you know,
with garbage, with things that really shouldn't be garbage.
Right. Exactly.
It's the even bigger part of this. So tell me what the process is for someone who is not familiar of how this works and the time that's required. It's not as bad as most people think. A lot of people think, oh my gosh, I could tear this down in a day with a bulldozer. But if you had other folks coming in and helping you, it's not a lot of difficulty to repurpose things.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, it takes longer to take things apart piece by piece. However, with projects that go 9 months, 12 months, an extra week or so is not too bad. But generally, what we do is we start out by I go to a property, I take a look at it, see what's there, and then I do an assessment of everything, and we provide the property owner with an independent appraisal of what we think I should say not us, but an independent appraiser, what they think the materials will be worth as far as a donation.
Right.
Then they can use that information to say, okay, based on my tax bracket and everything like that, this is the amount of a deduction that I'll get. And
that's a big deal, because everybody's getting something out of this deal. The person that's having their home deconstructed, they're getting the benefit of a tax write-off. You folks are getting the benefit of the materials, and of course, Habitat for Humanity, the benefit of having some money coming back to them from the sale of those things.
That's exactly right. And really, the property owner chooses where they want to channel that donation. They may choose Habitat, they may choose Recycle Utah or some other organization. So it's really up to the land or property owner to decide where they want to channel that donation. And of course, Habitat for Humanity's Restore welcomes donations of all kinds of materials that we can keep out of the landfill. We're keeping about 275 tons of material out of the landfill a year right now.
Wow.
With our current level of materials that are coming through the door, and then we like to call it upcycled. When it goes back out the door, we think it's being upcycled.
That's an interesting way of putting that, but I see it. You know, I think, as I said, certainly people have not, this is not something that's entirely, it's not something that we've been doing for a long time, I should say. This is a fairly new thing to the world, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, like you said, a minute ago, it's easier to just take a bulldozer to something
Sure.
and it's gone in a couple of days.
And we've been doing that for so long.
We've been doing
People
that
are
for
like,
years.
Oh, yeah, that's the way to do
just
it.
the norm and nobody realizes that there's an alternative. And the thing that's great about the alternative is it has win-wins all over the place. You know, obviously you keep everything out of the landfill, so it improves the longevity there, but it creates a real financial benefit for the property owner as well because of that tax deduction.
And what kind of things can be repurposed or reused? Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because people
Yeah.
probably have no idea.
Mm-hmm. Up to 95% of a building can be repurposed.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
surprising. So really you only need to throw away maybe 5 to 10% of a building, but we're talking doors, windows, flooring, cabinetry, lighting, trim, carpet, sometimes even the roofing tile, the lumber, of course.
Probably even, I'm guessing, some of the insulation and things.
Sometimes the insulation,
Depending on what it is.
depending on it. But I mean, pretty much anything that you can imagine. You know, if it's tacked up or screwed on or it can be pulled off, it can be reused.
Yeah, and of course, it's not as if we have to go in and take every screw out to get these things done now. Now we've got those sawzalls and all
Yeah.
kinds of little tools that make
there's
this a
all
lot
sorts of neat
easier.
things. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You guys probably have lots of cool tools. I'm kind of excited about that.
My husband gets afraid when I say I'm going to go get the Sawzall. It's like, oh
You're
no,
right.
oh no, here it comes. I just wanted to mention though, in all seriousness, what I love about the partnership and the win-win of this work is the reuse people are working very closely with contractors. So they're actually, and Daniel can tell you all about it, but they're providing the training and education to the contractors for how to do really good deconstruction and to preserve the materials when they come out. And I love that it ends up benefiting local contractors as
Wow.
well as the homeowners.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because what we do basically is we need people to do the work, and oftentimes the project themselves can be done by the contractor that the property owners are already identified. And all we do is basically say, okay, well, you just need a little bit more time, and there's a few things along the
You're
way.
a facilitator for this.
Yeah,
aren't you?
but we provide that training. We provide all of the inventory and the tracking of the materials so that come tax time, the property owner is protected. For the IRS, they're good to go. If they get an audit, they're going to be, safe. And we just kind of help to grease those wheels and make the whole process a lot smoother. And really, it's not a headache for the property owner at all. It involves basically a couple of signatures and a few phone calls, and that's about it.
Now, we have about a minute left, so I'm just curious if quickly you can tell me the process. So let's start from, if somebody wants to do this, where do they go first of all?
Well, they can either call...
They can call
yeah.
Habitat, they could call
Okay.
Daniel, and they could inquire, and we would get Daniel in touch with them to come out and do a site visit. Then from there, Daniel works with their contractor. And once everything is deconstructed, Daniel's doing all the inventory. Everything is palletized, it's inventoried. The homeowner's getting their appraised value on all those items. And then the palletized donation is coming to the Restore or Recycle Utah or wherever the donor says it needs to go. And then we're reselling it.
That's
So
awesome.
it's just a great program. We're really
right.
excited about it.
Quickly, your website address for reuse?
www.thereusepeople.org or deconstructionutah.com.
And for Habitat?
Habitat-utah.org or 435 658-1400. And somebody's interested in the program, they can call Chris Swanson as our restore manager, or me. I'm happy to take those calls as well.
great.
And but Chris is real knowledgeable and working closely with Daniel as well.
All right, guys, thank you so very much for being here. Habitat for
thank you.
Humanity, the Reuse people. We'll be back to wrap up the show here in just a minute on the Mountain Morning Show.